Well, that went fucking everywhere. That made that joke suck. Howdy folks, you've looked on the compilation video for my Negroni Riffs challenge that I just completed with folks like CocktailUnderground, Jared from KillDivill, Holmes Tavern, Comscribe, and also... No, that's everybody. That's everybody. Yeah, that's everybody. Here you'll be able to watch cut-down versions of all of our videos, myself included, and be able to watch them all in one simple sitting without any of the pomp and circumstance of the themes of the challenge. Enjoy, and be sure to stick around for more after the video. Thanks.
Today we're making a Negroni riff as part of a collab with some other cocktail YouTubers, KillDivill, Holmes Tavern, and Mike's Hard Reviews. And don't forget the Rusty Bartender. I guess my memory was a little rusty when I recorded this, and my amnesia continued after that. The Calm Scribe and Better Avec Bourbon also participated. I thought it'd be hilarious to make a drink for a woman who really hated drinks. Meet Carrie Nation. She led a one-woman crusade against alcohol in the early 1900s by storming into bars with a hatchet and smashing everything in sight. I call it Screw You, Carrie. Instead of a typical alcoholic Amaro, I'm going to use Artet, a cannabis-infused aperitif. And I'm going to build it right in the glass. So I've featured a lot of cannabis-infused spirits on my channel, and this one is kind of like the cannabis answer to Campari. It's only 2.5 milligrams of THC in a 1.5 ounce serving, and I'm gonna use 2 ounces, and that should be just like a really nice manageable little amount. And one thing I noticed about this, it does have like kind of a light orange color, but it doesn't have that like bright red that Campari does. And I'm gonna use an ounce of my favorite sweet vermouth, Carpano Antica. And I'm very proud of these little bottles I happened to track down because I've complained a lot on my channel about how I can't get through a big bottle of vermouth before it goes bad, but this is the answer. I'm going to add some ice because it's just kind of a Negroni Spagliato type drink, and I think that ice goes well in it. I've been waiting to use these little balls in something. Maybe give it a quick little stir in the glass. And then I'm going to top it off with this Waffler Estates Spring in a Bottle Sparkling Non-Alcoholic Rosé. But this, you can drink the whole thing and be fine the next day, so I hope it's good. I've got a couple of fun tricks up my sleeve for the garnish. First of all, I'm just going to go with the obvious one, a little bit of this orange peel. So I'll just kind of twist this around my bar spoon to give it a nice little curl. And I also spent some time laser engraving a special garnish that's a little wooden hatchet that says Death to Rum, because I think one of Carrie's hatchets actually said that on it. Rested on the side of the glass. Let's see how it tastes. That does put me in the mind of a Negroni Spagliato right away.
What is the crack? My name's the Rusty Bartender, and today I'm throwing my hat into a cocktail challenge with some other legendary YouTube cocktail makers. The task is to create a Negroni riff inspired by an historical figure. My entry into this challenge is the Ned Kelly Negroni. If you've never heard of Ned Kelly, he was an outlaw, a folk hero, and a rebel who lived off the land and stood defiant against colonial authorities in the late 1800s. And so for this recipe, we're just using 1 shot of our gin. One ounce of our sweet vermouth, and 1 ounce of our Amaro. Then we're gonna add 1 big chunk of ice. Then stir this down for about 20 seconds just to get it nice and chilled. And to this we're gonna add a lemon twist. And the lemon was actually sourced in Glenrowan, which is the site of Ned Kelly's last stand. Lovely. There you go, folks. The Ned Kelly Negroni. All locally sourced, all local ingredients. give it a little sip, see what's going on in the glass.
Welcome to Cocktail Corner. I'm the Gnome, and this is Gnome's Tavern, and we're here with another great cocktail for you today. Now, I'm doing another great collaboration with Mike's Hard Review and several other YouTubers, and it was a Negroni. You had to make a Negroni. Now, I've made Negronis in my sleep. Literally, you can ask my wife. Instead of just doing a regular old Negroni, it had to be Negroni Riff. In the tradition of the great bartenders up north, I am going to trick the other YouTuber bartenders into drinking Malort in this cocktail.
This is a mistake! I agree by accident!
You can't agree by accident.
Now the cocktail is going to be named after H.H. Holmes. I wanted to name it after a Chicago person. I just named it after the shittiest Chicago person. Let's go dive into the cocktail. Alright, so for this Negroni, we are going to do a stirred cocktail, and it usually has 3 parts. It is gin, aperitif, and vermouth, but I'm going to switch out one of those components, I guess 2, because some people will call Malort aperitif, but we're going to do 3/4 of an ounce of Malort, or if you have one of those little bottles, just dump that whole little bottle in there and thank me later. Then we're going to do an ounce of barreled aged gin. This is the gin I help produce, so I'm going to use this gin. And then because I made Mike buy a whole bottle of this and I have not seen him play too much around with it, I'm going to force him to keep making cocktails with creme de cookies. And we're going to do an ounce of creme de cookies. The guy who taught me how to do cocktails and is one of my teachers used to make fun of me how I said cookies and say, "You'd have to teach people cookies." And that I do. For this channel. So let's stir it up and pour it out. Bam. And then we're gonna rub it around this glass. And then we're gonna give it a nice little twist. Sometimes if your lemons are too cold with a cheese peeler, I find it's hard to do a twist. I also really suck at garnishes, so that could be probably more me than the cheese peeler. Anyway, let's give it a try. Make sure you have a nice small glass because there's not as much liquid, but let's see.
That's a Negroni. That is incredible. It's like a dessert Negroni. Let's dive in on how to make this one and why I created a Negroni that looks so funny. We're back with another cocktail design challenge, this time with the YouTube bartenders group that I am a part of. The challenge for this was to create a Negroni style cocktail with a different Amaro and name it after a historical figure or design it after a historical figure. I decided to go with what I'm referring to as a dessert Negroni. It's not sweet, but it doesn't have that same bitterness level. I've designed my cocktail off of Big Joe Mufferaw, who is a fictional character here in Canada that is designed by a man named Bernie Bedore, who was exceptionally close to me and was like a grandfather to me. All of the ingredients that we're using are Quebec-based ingredients. Let's dive in on how to make the Big Joe. First ingredient in this, going to be 1 ounce of crème de bluette. This is a blueberry liqueur from Quebec. Absolutely delicious. Next, for something a little stronger to replace the gin, we are going to go with Fauve. This is an Acerum. This is a maple brandy. And the final ingredient, and probably the most difficult to source, is Amarable. This is a maple Amaro made in Quebec, and it is absolutely phenomenal. And of course, we still want a little bit of citrus to pop the flavors, so we're going to do a couple dashes of your favorite orange bitters. Then we're going to give this a quick stir. Cheers, my friends, to the Big Joe Negroni.
Hi, I'm Jer. Welcome to KillDivill, where we focus on rum and cocktails. Today we are going to make the Erik the Redgroni. This drink is one of my responses to the Negroni Riff Challenge put out there by my friend Michael over at Mike's Hard Reviews. I have to say that I did break one of the rules. This drink isn't inspired by Erik the Red, as the name suggests. In fact, it's inspired by the rum that I'm using, Far North Spirits, a Lander Nordic spiced rum, and Erik the Red was the only person I could think of that was Nordic and historical and important enough to mention. We are going to stir this drink, and I'm going to start with my rum. 1 ounce of the Lander Nordic spiced rum. 1 ounce is 30 milliliters. Jigger. 1 ounce of Aperol. 1 ounce, 30 milliliters. And 1 ounce of Dolan dry vermouth. If you don't have Dolan and want to use another white or dry vermouth, feel free to do so. 1 ounce is 30 milliliters. Add your ice and give it a stir. What I'm going to do now is strain that into the glass over the ice. And this may be an oversized glass for it, but I just wanted to use the glass. And garnish. Twist of orange. Wish me luck. Oh, that went very well. Express, wipe, and drop. And there you have it, the Erik the Redgroni. Drink with good spirits.
Thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, click the like button down below and subscribe to catch more episodes of Mike's Hard Reviews and further challenges that appear in the future, whether they're my making or somebody else's. And click one of these videos that's appearing, I think it's on this side of the screen. Yeah, right here, this side of the screen. To watch more of my show. Thanks. Bye.